welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel and Leisure Show. Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio. Today we are, it is the third Wednesday, so it is time for, hey, you want to go? We want to go. Hey, you want to go travel? Yeah, Cheryl does, and Cheryl knows all about it. Cheryl's here every third Wednesday. Cheryl Ogle, she is a travel advisor. She's a world traveler, and she owns the company Hey Want to Go. And she specializes in helping travelers book their trips and get it all put together, especially if you're traveling through Europe, the UK, and she loves to help people set up their river and ocean cruise experience. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. Hey, you want to go on a sea cruise? Or maybe it's a river cruise? Maybe it's Antarctica? I don't know. But Cheryl, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year. Well, I guess we're
Yeah,
a
to
few
you
weeks into
too.
the new year now, but
Yeah, it is. Huh? And oh, everyone, heywannago.com is the website to go to, and the link to Cheryl's blog, all about these cruises we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about cruising in 2024, some unique bucket list options. Some of them are very bucket list worthy to me. They all sound pretty interesting. We're going to talk about that, but the links in the show notes from there. But you can also follow Cheryl on Facebook, which I encourage you to do. Facebook and also Instagram, because man, whenever you travel, you're sharing all kinds of good stuff for us to, follow and plan for. So we always enjoy following Cheryl there. But cruising, this is you got quite a list. I mean, these are some different experiences, and I think, like, would you say these are bucket list? I mean,
yes.
Alaska, Paul Gauguin, like
There
Gauguin,
there's
yeah.
some real, we all know you can run down to any port town and hop on a Caribbean cruise real easily. But these are really for people who are ready for a little more adventure, something a little more in depth. And there's nothing wrong with those other cruises, but this is just
Hmm.
something maybe you've done those and you're not aware that there are some other cruise opportunities out there for you.
Yeah.
Um, Boy, we can start with Alaska.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone we're doing Alaska. We're gonna go over to the South Pacific. We're gonna talk about
Mhm.
Australia, New Zealand, of course, Virgin Voyages. That's gonna be interesting to talk about. And Atlas Ocean Voyages. Listen, I have a thing about Richard Branson, so I'm excited about this. I like Richard Branson, like you like Rod Stewart. I like Richard Branson. Just
Okay.
saying. Well, it starts with the music industry. That's where he started, and he was a magazine man, so we like him,
So you know
just
you like
because of
him,
that.
of
Oh,
course,
I
of
do,
course.
I do.
Look,
He got a loan to start his first magazine, walking in barefoot with jeans on into the bank, barefoot with
look.
jeans, barefoot, and yeah. His biography is amazing. But anyway, sorry. Let's go to. Look, can we start with that Virgin Voyages, because this this is
Sure.
different than like Viking River Cruise. This is a little different. You say this is for adults only. Are these like
Yes.
a big party or what?
Okay. Now, my disclaimer is I have not cruised on Virgin Voyages, and it is
Yet.
not on my personal. Well, it's not on my bucket
Mm,
list. I
mm,
I I understand that people do want adults only cruising, and that is perfectly fine. Everyone gets to use their vacation dollars as they want. But I will say, some people, this is from colleagues who have had clients go on it, clients who insisted, who were ultra conservative, and I don't mean politically. I just mean
yeah.
maybe pretty straight laced, have not loved every minute of it. And so it's not for everyone. It is for the people who um are not easily offended. And
Hmm.
again, because the shows can range from I mean, they're just very adults only for the humor, for the performances. I don't want to get into a lot of it.
Hmm.
It's not for everybody. But if
Yeah.
you can skip those and overlook them and not judge and say, well, they shouldn't be doing that. That's up to them. If you
I
can
know.
go
I
and
know a lot of people who'd want to go on these.
uh-huh.
That, and a lot of times it's more like the music lovers that are they want to have a big party, basically. And
Right.
it's like going to Vegas, right? It's like
Hmm.
people love to go to Vegas on New Year's. That's not my thing personally, but they do. And they like to have a good party, and So it's a like a rock and roll cruise almost, and I can imagine that with him and his music
Hmm.
background, as you know, label and everything. So I
There's
can imagine
yes,
that.
there's definitely going to be a party vibe. Um, you have a tattoo parlor on board if you feel the
No
need to.
way.
Yes, if you need some ink while you're cruising, that is
No
available
way.
to you. So again, it's not for
That's
everyone, but
just
there are
I
people
would
who
say,
really enjoy that, and more power
yeah,
to them. So
yeah.
like I said, I have not experienced that yet. There may
Hmm.
come a day that I go on them. Um,
Well,
if
if you go on one, we'll go get matching tattoos. I'm just kidding. There's no
I'm
way,
not, yeah.
no way. No, I have friends who are in it, and I love the art of it, though. You know, and I think that's kind of cool. It's like, you know,
Mhm.
maybe you do that with your friends or loved ones and have a good time. But I think each for themselves, like you're saying, because some of the other cruises are like a complete, you can go on a nature trip. So everybody's it's really about what people want, right?
Exactly, exactly. And so
Mm.
it is a cruise that many people love, and they love
Mm.
I think it's a wonderful concept. I
Hmm.
know there are times I'm traveling and I get tired of seeing the strollers and everything, but generally I love children, and so I don't mind playing peekaboo with the child who's sitting in front of me, that kind of thing. So
Oh boy, you're like
it's the
Nancy.
grandmother in me, I suppose. Yeah,
Nancy is
it
like
is.
that. No, every restaurant,
Yeah.
if there's a kid gonna play peekaboo, Nancy's with the kid. Um,
It,
it's fun.
so again, it's not for everyone, but many people do love the experience,
Mm.
and yeah, it's something that we can certainly discuss if that sounds like it might be up your alley.
That's interesting. And then also Australia, New Zealand, you say, look at a Viking Ocean cruise, and so that's interesting. You say this is really November through March, so. This is like
Yes.
you have to plan ahead. Yeah, actually, that's a really good question before we get into all of them, or is it different per one about when you want to book and how far in advance do you book? Like, I know sometimes you can get a last minute flight, but maybe not the same with cruising.
Cruises are booking up. I think a lot of it has to do with COVID. People stayed home for 18 months or 2 years or however long you felt you needed to stay
Hmm.
home, and they're fed up. Oh, I mean, not fed up. You know what I mean? Is
Yeah, they're
they're
fed up
ready to
of, yeah,
travel. Plus,
they're like, I don't want to be cooped up anymore. Let me out. Let me go.
exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, they have a couple of years worth of vacation budget that has accrued, and they're
Hmm.
ready to spend that money.
Mm.
So that comes into play too. And like, what can we do? What are some bucket list items that we want to go do? I'm looking. In fact, I'm taking a cruise group to Norway in May, and I was looking. I just had two ladies join in the last week. One of them today, and so have gone to
Mm.
look at cruise options that are still available. And cabins are selling out. So this is for May of 24. Um, we're 4 months out from that, so that's not that surprising. I suspect that entire ship will sell out.
Oh,
So
wow.
if it's a cruise you want to do, plan a year or so in advance.
Mm.
These are already planning into 25.
Oh, okay. All right. So
So
take a look at that. Yeah.
exactly,
Um,
especially if you are limited in your time that you can go. I'm looking right now at an Australia New Zealand cruise for next Christmas for a gentleman who I work with. He and his daughter are looking to go do that,
mm.
possibly on Viking, but there are other cruise lines as well. So it's something that they want to do over Christmas. So their time is limited, and we need to make sure we find the right cruise for them and get them confirmed pretty soon so that
Mm.
they know they're set.
Yeah. So you do the cruise and then you do the flights after you book the cruise.
Yes, you want your main event. You want to make sure that you can get on that, whatever it is,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then
So
always,
yeah.
always, always fly in at least one day early.
Mm-hmm.
You don't show up the day of because flights have so many changes and cancellations, and it happens with all the airlines. So you need to give yourself a little buffer.
Mm. Okay, that's good to know. And so yeah, get you can't wait on it because even while it's winter now, right? A lot of people want to get out, be in the winter climates right now. But you were talking about in your blog, you were talking about Australia, New Zealand. So Viking Ocean Cruise, they go from November through March. So it's a little different for, do you think people can do it now or they have to plan for next year or the end of this year?
Um, There are still, I actually have clients on, they're on Princess doing Australia, New Zealand this March. And I had a request for that same cruise this week. And there were still cabins available, not many, but there were still a few available. And airfare wasn't even too bad. I told him, I said, I bet
Huh.
when we check air, it's going to be awful. And we checked it. And I said, oh, I'm shocked. Yeah, I'll eat my
Get it
words.
now.
So absolutely. So it was something that was going to work out if possible. So there are things that are still available for this year. But, of course, our winter is Australia, New Zealand summer.
Hmm.
So that is the time that cruises go there. You wouldn't want to go during our summer and our
Right.
winter. So
Yeah.
it's a nice time, and I'm looking forward to hearing from my group. I have, oh, I don't know, a group of a handful of cabins in March going to celebrate a client's 40th birthday with a bunch of his friends. So
Oh, cool.
it'll be, so I
Cool.
can't wait to hear and see pictures and, follow along on Facebook to see how their
Oh,
experience is.
that's exciting. That's exciting. So we talked about Australia, New Zealand. We've got the party, I was going to say the party cruise with Richard Branson, the Virgin Voyages. And then you talk about Atlas Ocean Voyages. To me, this is going to be, the Antarctica thing is huge. And from what I've, heard from, you and then also travel writers that have gone up there that and it's the same as Alaska. I think you were one of the people for especially Alaska. You're saying like, these glaciers are melting, things are shifting, and if you want to have those iconic, um, there's just things that they're iconic, but they're gonna be gone a little bit
Right.
as weather changes, right? Um,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
got
I
to do it
wonder
now.
what, another couple of generations beyond me, what are my grandkids when they're adults, what opportunities will be available to them, in
Yeah.
another 20, 30, 40 years.
Wow.
It'd be interesting. So if you have it on your bucket list, you have the time, you have the funds, make it happen. And,
Yeah.
and I'm not encouraging anyone to go into debt or any, I'm not
No,
anything
no,
like
no.
that. But if not, if you've got the money there and you're ready, what are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you book
Yeah.
with me or anyone, what are you waiting for? Life is uncertain. So start ticking some things off your bucket list.
It's exciting. That every time you come on a show, I get all excited because you're always like, that live. You know, we must
Yeah.
live, really, and it's really true. I mean, life is short, I know
Hmm.
that's such a cliche, but it's so true. And we're here to do things and, yes, there's service, there's, work and all those things too. But, I believe we are here to have a good time and experience what life has to offer. And, that's just my own personal thing that we're, and going, these kind of, vacations when you're on a cruise ship and everything, it seems that it's from what I've heard too from people are like, I don't have to do much thinking. I can actually just go and enjoy myself. So, that's also the other thing about why it's so important to work with a travel advisor like Cheryl is, hey, you're helping people. You know exactly who to go to, what and where. So, if you need to be working, as a traveler, people were talking about and earning the funds so that you can go on these things, these, expeditions like going to Antarctica. Um, you might as well just get who can get it done for you so you don't have to do so much work to make it happen, right? Because you've done the research.
Right, right. Well, and
Yeah.
and being on a cruise, like you said, it takes the thinking out of it. And I have clients right now, we're looking for the perfect Mediterranean cruise for them for this fall. And she said a lot of it is that they don't want to have to think in the evenings and go find a restaurant. They want to know, hey, we can eat at the buffet. Your choices are limited on a cruise. It's wide enough that you have some choices, but she said we got frustrated when we did a land tour that every night it was we've got to go find a restaurant. We can't get in because we didn't get reservations, and on and on and on. And so she said, I love unpacking once. And yes, maybe we're just in the port cities, but we explore that. We're seeing some highlights, and then we're moving on. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
for us, it makes it realistic that we can do this without getting frustrated, without starting to fight in the evenings. Well, I don't want pizza. I don't know, you know how it gets when
Mm-mm.
what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want? Um, so a cruise
Are
is
you talking
perfect for
about
that.
Nancy and I?
No, I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about most of us, don't we? Don't
Yeah,
we
yeah. Yeah, we
wonder about
don't
where
know.
do you want to go? And then you don't want to say, well, I really wanted pizza and I know you hate pizza.
I do want
Yeah,
pizza.
it's a cruise is great for that because it just cuts down on some of the thinking.
Mm,
You go, you
really.
unpack, and if you want to go explore a port, great. If you want to explore on your own, if you want to take, excuse me, if you want to take an excursion, you can do that. It's just easy. It's
Mm.
easier than any other way, I feel like.
And from people I know, we travel, Nancy and I travel, full time, but we also pet sit as we travel the country, as you know, and so we're always talking with travelers and people that go on cruises, and the people that are cruising appreciate it because they don't, like, if they're not feeling that well and they want to just chill, they can. Um, it's like your amenities are there. You can still look out the window, and see what's going on.
Right,
Um, and so if you are limited in any capacity physically, right?
right.
You can still have these amazing experiences. And I think that is a big appeal, especially if you're, at the retirement age, that this is a big appeal for that. But I love the fact too, where you can have multi-generational travel. This is one of the best ways to go because
Exactly.
those options, so
Exactly. And we've
not,
talked about that before, how
yeah.
everyone, the family with the young kids can go out and do their excursions. Grandma and grandpa may want to do something entirely different or stay on board. And so
Hmm.
everyone does what they want and then come together for dinner. Enjoy your
Mm,
evening meal together and share what you did that day. And maybe you
mm,
spent the day in the spa. Maybe you shopped at souvenir stores. Maybe a cooking class. So there's so much to do, and I think it's multi-gen is a great way to experience this. Go see Alaska.
yeah.
Go kayak through Alaska. Um, you're
Mm.
never going to regret those times with that generation.
Mm. Alaska, you put on your blog that you talked about uncruise, and I know a lot of people who've gone with uncruise and rave about it. So
Yeah.
that's a really cool option because they're very sustainable, small ship, right? It's not
Yes.
a typical big liner like a Discovery or
Correct.
Princess, right? It's
Correct.
different.
And really, their prices are not bad for the value. They bring a lot of value to it. So when you think about, okay, if we're doing a multi-gen and maybe grandma and grandpa and then mom and dad and two kids, um, pricing under 5,000 a person or so
Hmm.
is just, it's a good value. So you may be kayaking, hiking, biking. There's a wildlife search. And that's one of the things about Alaska is the wildlife. You're driving down the street and oh, look, there's a bear in the field right next to you. And you just see a million eagles. So it's really, it's Alaska holds so much for everybody. It
Mm.
used to be known really as like the old people cruise. And and it's turned around because people are realizing that, hey, there's so much for kids. And the last time I went, we were on a catamaran trip and there were several kids on there having a blast, looking at the whales and all of the nature.
Oh.
And it was just so much fun seeing it through their eyes and seeing how excited they were.
Mm.
And it was a multi-generation family there. They had a large group and
Mm.
ages from, like 5 on up into upper 70s.
I
So
love
it
to
was,
hear that
yeah,
because I think if you're a little kid, you know, there's ages like sometimes you have to wait depending on what kind of trip you're planning with kids, right? And what's going to affect them, and it's going to go with budgets and all of that, right? But
right.
when you're a kid, like if like I grew up, in Africa, seeing wild animals like lions and elephants, and way out, and so it left a huge it's a huge piece of who I am today. Um,
Mhm.
so you become a steward of the land. You become more aware of animal needs and wildlife and wanting to protect them and understanding the natural world. Like to me here, I saw the lions and all of that a lot, and I don't take it for granted whatsoever because we also know there are not as many as there were. So it's such a special, special part of my heart and soul. Like my lifeblood is part of that. And I'm
Yeah.
really lucky to have experienced that. Now, if it was like if I was that same little girl seeing a whale, like, and I'm in the water literally because we're on a cruise, right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you're there. It's not, when you're on the, on the beach and you see the whale way out there, but when
Right.
you're in the actual, you're there, like that it's mind blowing when you see whales and you're out in the water and they're
Well,
there with you. It's
what was so cool
amazing.
about this is that our guide asked the parents of these little kids, "How do you feel about the circle of life?" And they said,
Oh,
we're
oh,
good with it. Exactly. And so they said, "We're good with that." And so they took our group to this small island where a whale had beached itself and several days before. And so then they talked about how, others are feeding off it. And, they really went into the whole circle of life. This happens. Things die. It happens. So it was a neat experience. Those kids will never forget, I don't think,
oh. And
seeing
those are
those
trained
massive.
professionals, who know
Yes.
how to interpret things. And boy,
Yes.
do parents go, oh, thank goodness I didn't have to do it.
Well, exactly. And instead of
Seriously.
just saying, "So hold your nose, we're going to go see a dead whale," they went into the how this does happen and how it happens everywhere. And anyway, it was a neat experience, and I know those little boys will remember that forever.
But it is because it is kind of like this, oh wow, we're gonna see something you don't get to often see. When you get back to school, you're like, dude, you're never gonna believe what I just saw. It's so
Exactly.
important. And I think it's so cool for families to witness these kinds of things together. Just personally, I just think it's so cool to have something to have a dinner conversation on that is not like what's coming off your phone. You know, like
Right.
really,
Right.
when families travel together, they have these really good, they have better conversations. And I think a family that travels together is happier together a lot of times. Even
I
sometimes
agree.
when you don't feel like it's like, get out of the station wagon. You know, what did
Well,
Tommy
because
do? You
yeah,
know what I
we
mean?
grew up in the station wagon era.
Yeah, but the reality is when you travel together, you go through the bumps together, you go through the joys, the highs, the learnings, I mean,
Mhm.
and so you have something to talk about at the table that's not the usual humdrum. But when you go back home, something else is sparked in you. I don't care what age,
Right.
travel is the best education on the planet. Like that is education. You can't,
Absolutely.
it is. And so I'm excited about this list. I didn't know about some of the ones you were talking about too, like the Paul Gauguin. Oh my gosh, this is really interesting because, he spent time, the artist, he was in Tahiti and I mean, he did some crazy paintings out there. I'm just saying. We won't get into that unless you want to go on the Virgin Voyage. But anyway, but yeah, tell us a little bit about this. I mean, is this an actual cruise line?
Yes, it is. And so they are luxury for the person who has unlimited budget and they appreciate the finer things and they don't mind paying for them. This is certainly a way to consider traveling, especially when you look at that, the South Pacific. And that's where they are. And when you have 300 people on board and then a crew of 150, so you've got plenty of people taking care of you. It is something to consider. It would be a trip of a lifetime, I believe. And when
These
you think
only
about too, this
300 people on the cruise. Only
300
300 people.
passengers and then a crew of
Wow.
about 150. So when you think
What?
about the vessel, yeah, I know. So, but the vessels can get in smaller places when you're on a smaller
Mm,
ship. I mean,
mm,
it's just logical when you're on the big ocean liners that hold, six
yeah.
and 7,000 people. They have to go to the really large ports. They can't get in smaller
Mm,
places. So these little ships can. They
mm.
they have more opportunities to get in and see some things that you may not see on the larger ones. You pay for it, but if this is a trip of a lifetime and your budget supports that, why not?
Well, also when you do these, you know, a lot of people are also trying to be as light-footed as a traveler as possible and the environmental
Hmm.
sustainable side. And I think when you go on these smaller cruises, it's kind of you do feel like you're on an expedition. You may be having this ultimate luxury experience. It sounds like that when it
Hmm.
sounds pampery to me. I'm not anti-pampering whatsoever, but there is a lighter footprint, even though you're cruising. I shouldn't say footprint, right? Um, I didn't want to use the word wake because it's
That's
not
right.
a good,
Not,
but
not
but
after a cruise.
I don't mean it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but it is a lighter footprint in that what you're doing in the environment when it's smaller. It just seems that I mean I know that cruise ships cruise, there's been so much up and down on that, and that we should cover this on a show sometime. But the reality is, I think they're all working to be more sustainable. We had the CEO of Carnival Cruise Lines and Princess coming on. He was on our show about a year ago, maybe. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, people want to know about sustainability. And he's like, they are actively, all the cruise liners are working towards being even more sustainable as they can.
Mhm.
And so I think that's something, for travelers that are concerned, they should know that some of these are really working towards that. I know that Uncruise is definitely one of them, the one that
Yes.
you're covering for Alaska for folks that may be like, hey, am I doing the right thing? That's one of their concerns, you know. Um,
No, I agree. And I've seen it. I've witnessed this on the ships that I've taken. You know, one thing is they're doing away with plastic straws. And we all hate the little paper compostable straws, but that's a huge deal. You know, it really is. It's
I grew up with
wasted.
those, those paper
Well,
ones. Uh-oh. Now everyone's going to know how young I am, huh?
yeah, that's right. Wait a minute. But no, I mean, I see little steps here and there, and on the big ocean liners, they take the leftovers. You know, I know you look at your plate and you think, well, I didn't like that, and it's easy to send it back, and they'll bring you something else. Generally, that is all recycled, and then they chum the fish at night. Um,
Oh,
so
wow.
there's not as much waste as you would think.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, that's what I've been told by an environmental. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what his role was on one of the larger ships.
Yeah.
So, um,
They all work together on things like that. I know that. So it's getting better and better, but I want to go on the Gauguin cruise, the Paul Gauguin, just because it just sounds fun and colorful, and I don't know, I feel like I might enjoy a tropical drink. I feel like I would like to go to the tropics right now. It sounds good
right,
to me,
right.
you know.
Yeah, while it's cold, you know, is sweeping through most of the country. The tropics and a pina colada sound pretty nice right now, don't they?
Yeah, a little bit of
And being
sunshine.
waited on. So,
Oh, I like that. I like that. I
yeah.
feel like a need for pineapple suddenly. That
Oh.
sounds good to me. Yeah. Pineapple upside down cake. Thank you. Uh-oh. We can't talk about cake.
Stop, stop, stop.
We're gonna stop. We're gonna behave. Well, I
Stop.
have to bring it up in every show that you're
You
on.
started
There's,
it.
I did. I did. Well, I just did a interview on tea and cake, so it was
Oh
bad. I
gosh.
was like, oh my gosh, and Cheryl's coming on next. So this
Well, and I'm spending a month in the UK in May, and anyway, I'm going to be in London for quite a bit.
oh.
And so I was looking at just some new afternoon tea options, and one includes a cat cafe, and you pay to go in and hang out with the cats that are up for adoption. They're community cats, and they've been fixed. And so anyway, there've been some different things. But like, oh, what do they serve? Cake? Oh gosh, you know. So,
Oh, this sounds like heaven. Cats
yeah.
and cake, I'm in. I am in. And tea. I love a good tea. That's
Yes.
the thing too on these cruises. So just like I know it seems like they're all getting very specialized. So that it's, there's ones that, you can have a bunch of options, but some are very specialized, like Paul Gauguin and Virgin Voyages, obviously, and then like Uncruise for Alaska, right? Um, so
Yes.
we're seeing that specialty thing happen, which is important for what you want to book in your experience, right?
Right.
So when we look at, okay, I want to go here, there, everywhere. What are the first things you ask your clients, when you're setting up are you going, hey, obviously budget is always a thing, right? But is it also according to, hey, it just seems like the cruising thing, it used to be just get on a big ship and pig out. and have a bunch of food. You know what I mean? It used to be
Right.
that kind of, it seems to me that it's really elevated now
We're
in
getting
that.
away from that. And some of it, they did away with the midnight buffets, and I think Royal Caribbean used to have a midnight chocolate buffet once or
Mm.
twice during a cruise. And they stopped that because no one wanted to go eat chocolate at midnight and eat desserts. They wanted to go
Mm.
look and see how beautifully everything was presented, but no one was eating
Yeah.
it. So
Oh,
anyway, so that they stopped that. They stopped the I think as we become more health conscious, we know we don't need to go eat 5,000 calories at midnight or at 10 p.m. Um,
again, that is also sustainable, right? So less waste. However,
exactly.
if they want to put a chocolate fountain in my room and then a wine barrel, I'm fine. Bring it.
Bring it. You're always there to help people, aren't you, Lisa?
Absolutely. But no, but I think that's interesting. So they're looking at the actual experience and learning from that. So your
Exactly.
choices when you're planning are really about what is the experience you want? Do you care about being on a cruise liner with a lot of people, less people? If you're doing multi-gen, you're probably going to go on a bigger cruise, right?
Exactly, because you want something for the kids.
Mm,
The kids want to have a fun pool with water slides and different activities because otherwise kids don't want to be dragged around and just, okay, we're going to a museum. I mean, that's
mm.
their summer vacation. We had to go walk through a museum or on a city tour, a historical city tour with grandma and grandpa.
Nobody wants to
That's
hear
not
the museum
that's not
word.
fun for kids. So
No.
you really do need to meet something for everyone. And so that's one of the first things in the conversation is who's traveling. Tell me about who's traveling. Tell me about a trip you've taken that you liked or one that you didn't like, and what didn't you like about it? What did you like about it? And so tell me about your kids. Do they love the outdoors? No, whatever. What do they like? And so
Mm.
there are so many options out there. And I was speaking with a woman the other day looking for a last minute cruise, but she did not want a big cruise ship because when I mentioned something about one, she said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I'll never go on one of those big ones again. It's not for us. We like the smaller ships." So,
Mm.
um,
Yeah,
it it's
each
it's
to their own.
it's different for everybody. There's no one perfect cruise.
Mm.
And I'm asked that a lot. What's the best cruise for Alaska? I can't answer that.
Mm.
It
Goes
it's
by who
different
you
for
are,
everybody.
what about like, does it, when, okay, so there's the adult only for Virgin Voyages, and I'm thinking that's going to be more 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe 60s. It could be younger, who knows? But um, when I also think about like going to see Alaska, I'm going to be one of those who I personally would want the uncruise because I want the nature trip. What I don't want is to be in a place. I like a good party, and Nancy and I love our wine, but I don't want to be with a bunch of drunks. You know what I mean? It sounds
Right,
terrible, but I don't, and I mean it honestly because I think sometimes we all go, okay, I want the nature. I want to be around people that want to see the birds and know the birds better than me. I want people that know way more than me around me all the time because I
right.
need that. But that's how you learn. And these experiences, if you're around those people, you make friends on some of these smaller cruise lines,
Hmm.
these experiences are intimate. So those are going to be the ones that cost a little bit more. But if that's the kind of thing you want, so is that kind of when you're talking with clients as they're booking things, it's like, okay, are you okay with like, 1,000 people versus 300? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. Is let's customize what's best for you, what you
Mm-hmm.
like. If I just say such and XYZ is the best cruise to Alaska and I don't personalize it, you're never going to come back and use my services again. You're not going to trust me, and I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
either. There's so many options that meet all price ranges. And so it's just a matter of having a conversation of where where do we come in comfortably, and these are some options for you. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we go back to the drawing board multiple times, and sometimes it's nailed on the first time. So it's just a matter of finding the best cruise for you, for
And
your
what your
travel
needs.
style.
Yeah. Because I mean, doesn't it also go according to um what the excursions are when you're on the cruise? Like,
Hmm.
do they stop? Do they have opportunities for you to go and explore the towns or go on a hike.
Exactly. Exactly. How
Yeah.
long are you in port? That's something very important to look at because
Mm,
some cruise lines, so I've looked at a lot of Alaska cruises lately, and many of the big cruise lines, they're hitting the same ports, maybe even on the same days, but some of them are there from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. or others are there 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it's a matter of not just saying, okay, we're
mm,
in those ports, but how long are you there?
mm,
Are you there long enough to do anything, or is it just almost a technical stop where they're
mhm,
loading up with some fresh vegetables while that you
mhm.
feel like you've had a port stop? So
Yeah.
you that comes into play as well. Are there ports that mean more to you than others? Let's make sure that we've got you in the right on the right ship
Mm.
at the right port. So where
And
you do
that's
have
what's
some
good about having a travel advisor. I just got to give, plug out and shout out to Cheryl here, what she does, because you really work with people like, hey, you want this? This is, yeah, you can have this. Because you book it all the time and you do all the research. You've been on a lot of things. I mean, you travel all the time. So, and I think, that's a really cool thing to save people time. And, time is money and time is your life, so that's why let's travel as quickly, like not travel quickly. I like slow travel personally, but let's not wait.
right.
If you can do it now, do it, man, because like we were saying, time is time. So it's a ticking, even though it's a new year. Let's get
It
going. Let's do our
it
bucket list.
it really is. Where do you want to see? Where do you want to go to? I don't want to have my bucket list long at the end of my life and
Well,
not
I'm having
really
a hard
over
time just reading
things.
your blog because no offense to you, but like I want to go to all the places. I want to do all of them. I want to go to Antarctica. I do want to check out the Virgin Voyages, and see like if they have a musician or like bands that I like. I might dig it. Um, I don't know. I'm not getting a tattoo, but I have friends who will, and I'll go watch them, but not really watch it. I'll just say, show me later. I just want to see the art, but I don't want to see that. I want to do Australia, New Zealand with Viking. All I know is that's awesome. Paul Gauguin, the Gauguin cruises. All yes, please.
Yes.
And then
Hmm.
Alaska on an uncruise. Yes, please. So, how are you going to help me? Just
I
put me on
know,
all of
right?
them.
I
Like
even
I'd like the whole year.
making this list, it kept growing. I thought, no, I wanted to just talk about top five, but I scratched off several. Um,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I know, I
Mm.
had to pare it down. So
You gave me a whole bunch of new ideas and things I've never heard of. So we love your blogs and we love following your travels. Everyone, Cheryl is here every third Wednesday, and you can follow us at bigblendradio.com and also keep up with Cheryl at heywannago.com. So keep up with her there. She's always got great blogs and tips, and just email her, contact her. She'll help you. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
thank you. Always enjoy chatting with you.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel and Leisure Show, brought to you by Big Blend Magazines. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com or blendradioandtv.com. Happy travels!